is here and Camp's allergies are back in full swing. Camp is a 5-year-old Shiba Inu. He has seasonal allergies every year of his life. His symptoms are always pretty similar. Super leaky eyes, itchy skin, but what he'll do is he'll just go manic, scratching his eyes and his muzzle until they bleed. We do have a cone that we'll use when we have to, and we've also been wrapping him in this sheet so that he doesn't go crazy. We haven't been able to go anywhere because we've had to pay so close attention to him.
Okay. So Camp is being pretty difficult. He milks the fact that he doesn't feel good and makes us carry him to go pee. So his quality of life is like pretty freaking low right now, and in turn ours is too. Oh, a lizard. Oh, a little lizard. And this is most likely why he's been so itchy. Let's go. Let's go. Come on. Come here.
When it comes to dog food, we have learned so much about what's good and what's bad, and how best to feed this little princess. But we actually have a lunch date right now with a woman named Elsa, so I will talk about all that when we get back.
There's not just this body. Right. You know, there are other realms, other dimensions, other, gifts. It's weird. So that's why I'm saying you have to have an open mind.
Sure.
Yeah.
When Camp was a puppy, we fed him a grain-free kibble that was recommended to us by the breeder. We did get Camp from a breeder. We wanted a Shiba Inu, we wanted a puppy, so we kind of naively just chose to go to a breeder.
I think adopting is the best way to do it, but we got a Shiba because we knew how independent they were and how small they were. So it was like the perfect dog for small living.
And because they seem to have good quality health. Generally. He had allergies from the very beginning. When he was just a few months old, the vet thought that he had mange because he was losing all of his fur. When he was either 1 or 2, we put him on some prednisone because his allergies were just so intense. It was around that time that I started looking for other ways to treat allergies on our own, and I learned a lot about kibble and how the things that we were feeding him were likely attributing to his allergies in one way or another. This is a really sticky conversation because we are all taught that when you get a dog, you give them this bag of kibble for their entire lives and they're all good. Some dogs, that's fine. Other dogs, like this one, is not fine. Kibble was originally created after World War II.
I believe so.
It was
or during.
It was when I think dogs were in the war, so they needed to feed them quickly. It was also during the time of mass production of materials and goods. Sick or injured or diseased animals or byproducts from cows and things that weren't used for humans would all go into the dog foods, and the dog foods are still unregulated. You don't have to be super specific about what's going into all these dog kibbles. It could be anything under the name of chicken meal or beef byproduct. It's really freaking nasty. These dog kibbles are sprayed with sugars, preservatives, so that the dogs do eat them. It's like a cereal to them, because naturally a dog would not choose to be eating cereal every day. They are meant to be eating meat and things that have moisture inside of them. The main reason that we have stopped using kibble for camp is it was just far too dehydrating. Every time camp even gets a morsel of like a friend's dog food that was left on the ground or something by the campfire or whatever, he goes nuts, like freaks out, attacking his face for that evening as though he's in the middle of allergy season, and that could be during the winter when he doesn't have seasonal allergies. I don't know if it's a chemical or preservative that's in the kibble, but kibble
it seems like it. Like it's not. It can't just be that it's drying. It seems like there's something in there that really sets him off.
So around 2.5, 3 years old, right when we were moving into the scamp, I chose to start making his dog food. I think I went to Thailand, and when I was gone, you just kind of fed him Chipotle and sardines.
Not Chipotle. You make me sound like such an idiot.
Well, you did though.
No.
What'd you feed him? Not dog food.
No, I was feeding him like different meats and stuff, but I was feeding like mostly sardines.
So that led us into a whole spiral of researching homemade dog foods. At the time, I was doing things like rice and beans, thinking that was it does for humans make a complete protein. Makes a complete protein with all the amino acids binding together. It makes a complete protein, so I just assumed that that'd be a good thing for him. Sardines were very common in his diet.
Salmon for a while.
Chicken, canned meats, fats in terms of coconut oil and olive oil, nuts and seeds, vitamin supplements, fresh fruits and vegetables. It was a pretty good effort to make a balanced diet. Eggs too. Really, I did do a lot of research and tried my best, but it's very important to get an animal, a dog, a well-balanced diet, just like humans. Vegans miss out on a bunch of B12, and that's apparently really important for the body. So it's kind of the same thing with a dog. Certain parts of his body are going to start shutting down if they don't have the proper minerals. So it's really important to get everything you need in there, and I may not have, and that's because I couldn't do it well enough, because we live on the road in a trailer without a fridge. So I couldn't keep these raw meats in here. I couldn't buy them in bulk and keep them in my freezer. It's really hard when we're in these tiny towns to find organ meats. We didn't have a blender to grind up all the different meats so that camp, like, he will not eat a chicken gizzard or a chicken liver on its own. Dr. Karen Becker, she is the woman that I go to for, she's my idol in terms of dog health. She made this incredible article that lists the best dog food diets that you should feed your dog, starting with a raw meat diet. Then it's like a raw freezer food diet. Then it's a dehydrated, anyway, I'll leave that link in the description, but high up on the list is dehydrated raw dog food. So given that he can't have kibble and that we can't give him canned food because we live on the road and can't have so much waste, I decided to buy dehydrated raw dog food. And it's not cheap. But thankfully we have a little dog, so it makes it a little easier. This is what I've been feeding him for the last couple months. I think I've had him on 4 different dehydrated dog foods, because it's another thing that I've read in my research is it's really crazy that we think that we can have our animals on one food for their entire lives and have them be solid. And like I said, some dogs and cats do well like that, but that's like us eating Cheerios every day for our whole lives and thinking that that's going to be
nutritionally sufficient.
Yeah. This is I Am Loving You. I think it was 5.5 pounds of dehydrated dog food. It lasts a month. It costs around $75. I justify it in that it's about $2.60 a day. I can drop that on my dog.
It's a worthy investment. I think he's worth that.
Yeah. That's kind of what we signed up for. These dog foods are really good, especially for travelers. It's really helpful. This was kind of powdery with chunks. You put double the amount of water in and let it sit for 15 minutes and then you can feed them. Problem with this bag, compared to average dog foods, it was lower in protein, lower in fat, and way higher in carbohydrates. Grains are not a necessary part of a dog's diet. The most important elements in a dog's diet are protein, animal organs, fats, and then vitamins and minerals. Also the bones. The bones are hugely important. And grains do not really fit into an ancestral dog's diet. Wolves and things were not going around eating grains.
They did get their like vegetable intake and like plant intake from the guts of whatever they were ingesting.
So they were eating the raw birds, pheasants, whatever, getting that raw meat, the raw organs, and then the already partially digested vegetables and plant matter in the guts of those animals. People are being turned on to the benefits of grain-free diets, and so the dog food manufacturers are jumping on board with this as well, making a lot more grain-free dog food options, which is great. But in most of them, they're replacing the grains and oats and barley and things with other types of carbohydrates like potatoes, sweet potatoes, and peas. This dog food I really liked because the ingredient list is low, but the first ingredient is beef. The second ingredient is sweet potatoes, so that's the starchy carbs. Third ingredient is yellow split peas. Then it's carrots, dried egg product, flax seeds, cabbage, bananas. This dog food made him poop a lot.
It just seemed like the volume of his given the volume of his poop, that there were a lot of fillers in it.
Yeah, and you could almost even see like little quinoa, little circles undigested. So I just switched him to this air-dried max meat, only natural pet beef dog food. It's jerky style. So they're squishy, moist pieces of jerky-like dog food. This is apparently high in protein, high in fat, and low in carbs. This is also about $80 and will probably last about a month. So we have done the food exploration. We're doing the best that we can given our lifestyle situation. While we're still on food, let me mention that last year we got a saliva food test done on camp to test the different food triggers that may be triggering his allergies. If you didn't know, allergies are an overreaction of the immune system triggered by environmental things, food, and even stress. The immune system overreacts, causing things like itchiness and inflammation. The test was a little bit of a wash, because it said like he's allergic to beef and turkey and...
But it's hard to tell because your body makes like antibodies for different things based on what you're eating. So if you're eating like a bunch of peas, for example, then your body will build antibodies for peas, even though you're not like massively allergic to peas, but when you're like subjecting your body to that all the time, then there'll be more of that present in your blood. So the turkey...
At the time, we were feeding him a lot of ground turkey.
Right, and then maybe like no salmon or whatever. So then salmon didn't show up as being an allergen, but then when we fed him salmon, then it blew him up.
Hey. No.
Come here, dude.
We did our best to not feed camp those trigger foods that came back positive on the test results, but it's pretty obvious that it is seasonal allergies. Some of the treatments that we have found that do work are CBD. This is ultra helpful not only for camp but for us because we are all stressed out by camp's allergies. If you'd like to try some of this CBD for yourself, it is grown by our friends in Colorado, extracted in Denver, sold in Colorado. It's really good stuff. They're really good people. You can use code NOMAD, all caps, at, what's the website?
NinjaCBDProducts.com.
The second, that is the most helpful thing that we have found so far in the natural department, is licorice root. This is licorice root extract. It is hugely anti-inflammatory. It's a natural form of a corticosteroid without shutting down the immune system. So like I said, allergies are an overreaction of the immune system, and that's why vets prescribe prednisone steroids, because the steroids suppress the immune system, making all of the symptoms of allergies go away. It's like a Band-Aid. This would still be a Band-Aid, but it doesn't hurt or suppress the immune system. So the immune system still has its ability to act normally, but this cuts down on the inflammation that happens from the overreaction of the immune system and is really, really helpful.
And supposedly it works pretty well for human allergies too. It's been used in Chinese medicine for a long time.
The problem with licorice root as a treatment is with long-term use it creates sodium retention, and when you are using it for longer than 2 weeks, you want to use something like dandelion root to help flush all of that excess sodium. I'm not totally sure what sodium retention does, but it can lead to bad things, as can the use of long-term anything. So, everything in moderation. Next, in every one of Camp's meals, I give him an omega-3 supplement or salmon oil or fish oil or a can of sardines. The EPA and DHA are really helpful in cutting inflammation. Probiotics are another thing that I give Camp once a day. Because of the pet diets that we're giving our dogs that are nowhere near the ancestral dog diets, they're really low on the natural bacteria that would be in their systems if they were eating things like raw meats every day. When Camp has infections, or when he's scratching the crap out of his eyes, I'll use colloidal silver. I spray it in his ears, on his eyes, whatever he needs to prevent infection. I don't know how this works, but somebody told me it does, and so I use that. We give Camp internally as a treat coconut oil every day because he loves it, but topically it is one of the most effective things for his raw skin. In a little jar, we mix about a tablespoon of coconut oil with a couple drops of lavender essential oil with a capsule of vitamin E oil. We apply that to his itchy skin. The coconut oil is antimicrobial, antibacterial, so it helps prevent infection. It's also really moisturizing with the vitamin E oil. And lavender, I never knew that it worked, that it actually worked to calm you until we used it on Camp, and it makes an incredible difference. Also, the lavender oil in the coconut oil, like if we apply it to his arms or his paws, he really doesn't enjoy licking the lavender. If it was just coconut oil, he'd lick it all right off and we would be back to square one. So those are all the things that we do naturally for Camp, that we've been doing for the last several years. But it has gotten to the point where his quality of life sucks. And it makes our quality of life suck. We haven't been able to go do anything because we have to sit here and make sure he doesn't make himself bleed. We can hardly get him to eat because he wants to scratch himself so bad as he's eating.
And this has only started happening again in like the last 2 weeks. Just as the pollen count spikes, as all the different plants and everything bloom.
In addition to all these natural treatments that I just talked about, we are tomorrow going to be moving up in altitude to try to get him away from all the budding plants and pollens, but we also have a vet appointment scheduled tomorrow to get him an allergy injection called Cytopoint. I want to do the best that I can for him, and I think that treating him as holistically as possible is the best way to do it, but it's not working. He's suffering.
So hopefully by doing this Cytopoint once or a few times, we can like push him over the hump and then continue to improve his health, and then we won't have to lean on it later. But for now, we just need to like get him over this so he doesn't like tear the shit out of his face.
Everything I do it for you.
The last week has been exactly that.
We love him too much.
It's fine.
Our little princess.
Everything's fine.